On a sweltering summer day at a small farm, Junwoo, a superhuman with a troubling background, is cultivating crops. He is approached by his mother, a kind and old woman carrying a cup of water. She politely asks Jun that he has been working so hard and shows her concerns toward him. She asks him to have a beverage and take a break. Jun happily accepts the water and wipes his face of perspiration. They are joined by his father, who is furious with Chanwoo. Jun's brother Chanwoo losing all of their ancestral land. His father curses him in a frustrated tone that he has vanished, leaving his poor family in dire financial straits. The parents of Jun get into a fight and start blaming one another for their problems. Jun steps in and assures him that he would work hard to get their finances back on track. Jun solves the matter by stating that he will handle everything. He will put up endless effort to pay it off. Jun stares at the setting sun, thinking. He thinks about going back to the dungeons to find special and uncommon crops, but the task seems difficult given how expensive they are. Jun is startled when he hears the word Hawa in a quiet voice. He notices it emerging from a sprout when he looks down. He picks up the sprout out of curiosity and takes it home. Jun's mother is ecstatic to see the young plant at home. To his surprise, Jun is the only one who can hear the Hawa sound. Jun's father tells him to take a shower and brushes it off as a joke. Jun makes the choice to give this enigmatic plant special attention while by rest himself in his room, since he thinks it might produce unusual crops. Over the course of several months, the little plant in a farmyard corner develops into a massive crop. A man comes to evaluate Jun's crop as he's inspecting them in the farm while Jun is spending time with his plant. He comes out of the tent where he hears the voice of a truck carrying loads of potatoes sectioned on the basis of quality. The family is anxiously waiting the decision. This man says that this time their potatoes have received a C rating, earning them 81,000 yuns. They told to use a BBQ party to celebrate as there is much excitement in the air. Jun is still not happy with the amount though, because they'll have to cultivate crops within the same amount. Net profit is still not sufficient. He goes back to where the Hawa plant formerly stood while contemplating something. When he discovers a blonde, newborn girl with wide, shining eyes reaching out to him instead of a plant, his heart skips a beat. The enormous crop has changed into a little girl. Jun is left with many unanswered questions and a sense of destiny as his eyes expand in amazement and intrigue. Jun is sitting in his tent with Hawa, the baby girl that the Hawa plant evolved into, as the crescent moon sparkles amid the innumerable stars. The message informs Jun that Hawa is his current spirit employee and that he is now a spirit farmer, empowered to hire spirits as his workers. Jun is dissatisfied with his lack of superior superpowers, receives a pinch from Hawa as a sign of her care for him. He smiles and tells Hawa that he's good. Hawa is unconcerned about him. Jun rubs Hawa's head while observing her gaze. With her by his side, he has comfort and a brief epiphany. Hawa's characteristics are revealed in a subsequent message. She is incredibly refined and can meticulously tend to farming at the age of 6. Hawa is asked to exhibit her abilities while Jun sits with her, pleading with her to do something particularly impressive. Hawa takes a minute to reflect before running quickly and delicately touching a flower. Jun laughs while still being perplexed and tells her to make an effort to be more conspicuous. After giving it some more thought, Hawa rushes outside the tent while yelling with elation. She's unable to move even a single leaf though. Despite his growing dismay, Jun shakes his head and encourages Hawa with the intention of not hurting her. As he gets ready to take her home, he tenderly massages her head and holds her in his arms. How am I going to explain this to my folks? Jun asks himself. How did I come across this girl? Jun notices that there's abruptly strong wind blowing. He braced himself after realizing it's a typhoon. A green lady with a beautiful green aura descends from the sky. She has wing-like ears and long, thick green hair that looked exactly like shoots of a plant hiding her face. She approaches Jun with ease, catching his attention. Hawa leaps in anticipation as if anticipating her entrance. The green lady comes closer to Jun, her powerful presence growing almost scary. Jun is still in astonishment. Her entire body emits a green light, and her piercing green eyes are fixed on Jun. Did you call the strongest wind spirit? She asks, which Jun starts to shiver. The green woman becomes irritated and requests to know the purpose of her summon. Jun murmurs in a delicate voice, I merely wanted to observe Hawa's skills. The ghost asks again, this time in a harsh voice. Jun hesitantly requested if she'd be able to cultivate the entire field for him. The spirit effortlessly completes the mission and leaves in a matter of seconds. Now that Jun sees the possibilities for having Hawa as his spirit worker to assist him in paying off the obligations, he's excited. He starts walking home while still holding her in his arms. It is night when the father of Jun is watching television while learning about a storm that has unexpectedly struck the region, owing to unclear reasons. Jun is attentively listening as he waits by the door. His father looks in Jun's direction and asks him about Hawa. Jun then continues to recount the entire incident in its entirety. His father starts to worry more and more about his last remaining child and wonders if John needs to consult a doctor. The father of John inquires in a concerning voice, "John, do you require medical assistance?" John asks his mother if she believes him as he looks to her for encouragement. His mother nods reluctantly, still doubtful about the truth, and advises John to give Hawa back to her frightened parents. Hawa yet continues. John, who's discouraged, abruptly requested his mother give Hawa a shower, saying she's grown messy from being away from home for such a long time. John's father is furious with him and accuses him of wanting to become superhuman, and accuses him of kidnapping the girl for financial gain. John said questions in an irate tone, "Did you abduct this girl for ransom in order to fund your quest to become superhuman?" They hear a shriek coming from the toilet in the midst of the tense scenario. John's mother dashes outside and makes an unexpected find. Hawa doesn't have privates. John's mother, frightened, said John, and his father both staring at him in disbelief. John urges them to believe right now as he stares down. He was being honest when he said he was telling the truth when he said that Hawa worked with spirits. John toils assiduously on his farm after a week has passed, sweating profusely and lost in intense thought. He's curious about Hawa's spirit and its makeup. He's unfamiliar with the concept of a spirit farmer. He sees Hawa happily devouring pancakes and potatoes through the window. John chuckles as she admits that she could win an eating competition with ease. Other Hawa called spirit laborers can be seen roaming the fields performing various farming duties. John is pleased that he has nothing to do because of the spirit workers who assume the shape of fruits. Together, Hawa and John have developed into a symbiotic being in which Hawa may call upon spirits and John can command. John wants spirits for other purposes as well, but the notion of the green spirit makes him frightened and gives him the shivers. He pushes aside his anxiety and returns his focus to Hawa, who's now asking for more food. John is concerned about how he will pay for food expenses. He takes Hawa into his arms and lifts her into the air. John and Hawa step into a brand new environment full of tall structures. The cries of Hawa for food became louder. John reassures her by saying that he'll find something to eat shortly. John makes it apparent that he wants to register with the Superhuman Association and benefit from being a superhuman in order to be able to offer Hawa with the required amount of food. When John enters the building, a young lady is working behind the counter. She tells him that if he succeeds in the last test, he would be recognized as a superhuman by the government. When John considers failing, he experiences a rush of panic, yet he musters the confidence to take the test. He receives his superhuman license for becoming a spirit farmer a short while later. He stares at the license in astonishment, tears of delight welling up in his eyes. He is then told by the young woman that his training lessons will start in a week. John freezes in place as he acknowledges that his long-held desire has at last come true. Additionally, the young woman hands John a device that can only be used by non-spirits. Hawa joyfully leaps over the thing, but it doesn't work. John requests that she return home and wait for dinner, but Hawa, furious, leaps into his arms and begins to walk away. John chooses to go with her to grab dinner after grinning at her independent energy. He also intends to get Hawa some new clothing. They embark on their journey together. The Superhuman Association starts to make noise in the evening. Bak Chun-soo, the branch manager, walks in wearing a harsh and aggressive attitude. He has a strand of hair that heightens his commanding presence like a mafia boss in appearance. When he notices superhuman hunters Jung Soo-jin and Park Joo-jung arguing angrily, he feels irritated. Chen steps in to end the argument while admonishing the parties to behave correctly. Despite their ongoing disputes, both hunters are adept at what they do. Chan visits his assistants once more, who tells him about the recently registered superhumans. In his office, he asks her to bring him the list. After giving the list some thought, he sets it down on the table, takes a big breath, and muses about the reality that there doesn't seem to be enough talent to create more superhumans. He aspires to lead the association, but if things keep going the way they are, then he might never realize his goals. It is night when Hawa plays with her grandparents, who adore her sweet spirit. John is asked by his mother to show his father the clothing items he purchased for Hawa. However, his father abruptly loses his temper because he worries that having Hawa around will make it harder for John to find a wife because others could assume he already has a daughter. After successfully calming down his father, John leads Hawa to his room. He hands a unique license card that he created just for her. Hawa leaps off the table with joy as she clutches her driver's license. John suggests taking a selfie to capture the occasion. They're joined by his parents and they all assemble for a family photo. The house is filled with joy as they embrace Hawa. All of John's family members are working diligently to harvest maize crops under the intense summer sun. John cheerfully records Hawa's cute antics with his camera as she happily plays in the fields. In an attempt to change the wallpaper on her phone, John's mother joins him and they jokingly request for the 11th time that week that John email images of Hawa. As they continue, John's father orders them to concentrate on their task in an authoritative manner. He asks John to give him images of Hawa in a more gentle manner, which makes John and his mother smile. As John attentively examines the crops, John's father acknowledges their sound condition and grades them as being the C category. His father suggests buying a rank testing tool to discern the crop's rating. A window that says the maize harvest or B rank suddenly appears in front of John. John tells his father about this and he exhales in relief because they won't need to buy an expensive instrument. He praises John for using his superhuman talents to make their lives easier. They exchange grateful smiles. John, though, is soon intrigued by Hawa and wonders what she's up to. He's surprised to see her dragging a heavy sack of maize by herself. John notices her little face turning red from exertion and runs to assist her. He takes her corn as he does. Another window indicates that Hawa's corns are of A+ grade as he gets the corn from her. John gasps in disbelief at what he sees. He realizes that due to Hawa's donation, they will this time earn a sizable sum for their crops. Currently, Hawa and John are boiling some of the A+ rated maize for lunch in the kitchen. Their appetites are piqued by the enticing perfume that pervades the premises. Hawa waits impatiently for a portion, but John stops her because she wants to enjoy the occasion. Curious about the tempting aroma of corn, John's parents walk into the kitchen. When John shows his parents the freshly boiled corn, they all took into the delectable supper. Their shocked eyes enlarge. The moment they taste the corn, their eyes enlarge in amazement. They haven't enjoyed such a mouth-watering feast in a long time. After they complete their meal, John's father asks for more since he can't get the savory corn out of his mouth. They discover their palates to restrain themselves and they eat half of the A+ corns. Hawa sits on the ground thinking about how much the harvest must mean to her parents. To test whether the flavor hasn't changed, John decides to sample some raw maize. He's delighted to see that it keeps A+ grade. Even the cow asks for some maize and John's go past it. A window appears revealing that John has discovered a secret nugget of knowledge from a former professional farmer. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and press that bell icon to know about our latest videos.